A lullaby of star, dreams, the fantasy journey on the moonlit path. Chapter 1. The first encounter on the moonlit path. On the edge of the peaceful and serene crescent town lives a girl named Ava. The town is surrounded by green mountains, with clear waters flowing gently through it, just like a tranquil idyllic painting. Ava's home is a warm log cabin located in the middle of a lush green meadow. Colorful wildflowers bloom all around, and when the gentle breeze blows, the flowers sway gently, exuding a burst of fragrance. Ava is in her youth. She has long, golden hair as bright as the sun, which falls softly over her shoulders, as if draping her in a golden cape. Her eyes are like deep lakes, blue and clear, always shining with curiosity and kindness. Her skin is fair and delicate, with a faint blush on her cheeks, just like the blooming flowers in spring. Ava is slender and has a light figure. When she walks, she is like a gentle breeze, quiet yet full of vitality. Ava has a gentle and peaceful heart. She is full of curiosity about the world and always eager to explore the unknown. Every evening, when the afterglow of the setting sun dyes the sky orange, red, Ava always walks out of her home and steps onto a path on the edge of the town. This path is called the moonlit path because whenever night falls and the moonlight shines, the path is covered with a silvery glow, like a dream. On this day, the sun was gradually setting, and the sunset glow in the sky was like a magnificent painting. Just like usual, with anticipation in her heart, Ava walked briskly towards the moonlit path. She was wearing a light, blue dress, and the skirt fluttered gently with her steps, just like a dancing butterfly. When Ava stepped onto the moonlit path, the moonlight spilled on her like water, as if draping her in a dreamy veil. The trees on both sides of the path were tall and thick, with their branches and leaves intertwined to form a natural vault. The moonlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves, creating patches of mottled light and shadow on the ground, like broken stars. Ava walked slowly along the path, enjoying the quiet and beautiful atmosphere. Suddenly, a slight rustling sound came from the grass by the roadside. Ava was slightly startled and stopped in her tracks, looking warily at the grass. Her heartbeat involuntarily quickened, and various possible thoughts flashed through her mind. Just then, a furry figure darted out from the grass. Ava took a closer look and found it was a cute rabbit. The rabbit was covered with soft, gray fluff, which felt as fluffy and comfortable as a cloud when touched. Its ears were long and sensitive, always alert and upright, as if listening to every sound in the forest. The rabbit's eyes were like two rubies, bright and full of spirit, revealing its intelligence and wit. Its nose was small and cute, constantly twitching, sniffing the wonderful scents around. "Hello, little girl." The rabbit spoke first, its voice soft and gentle, as if carrying the breath of the forest. Ava was so surprised that her mouth fell open. It took her a while to react, and she stammered in response, You can talk?" The rabbit twitched its ears gently and said with a smile, "Many wonderful things can happen on this moonlit path." Ava's curiosity was instantly piqued. She crouched down to be at eye level with the rabbit and asked, "Then what's your name?" "I'm Rabbit. I know quite a few stories about this forest." The rabbit puffed out its chest proudly. "Really? Tell me quickly." Ava's eyes sparkled with anticipation. Rabbit blinked and began to tell. Deep in the forest, there is a mysterious mushroom circle. Every full moon night, the mushroom circle will emit a strange light. It is said that the light has magical power. Once, a little squirrel got injured. When it rested beside the mushroom circle, the light shone on it, and its wound healed quickly. Ava was fascinated, as if she was on the scene, and in front of her eyes emerged the injured little squirrel and the mushroom circle emitting a strange light. And on the other side of the forest, there is a wishing well. As long as you sincerely make a wish to the wishing well, maybe your wish will come true. Once, a little bird's nest was destroyed by a storm. It came to the wishing well sadly and made a wish. The next day, it found a new and warm nest in a big tree. Rabbit continued. Ava was deeply attracted by these wonderful stories and couldn't wait to ask, "Are there any other stories?" Rabbit tilted its head and thought for a while, then said, "Of course. In the deepest part of the forest, there is an ancient forest where the trees are all hundreds of years old. It is said that in that forest lives a kind tree fairy. She guards all the lives in the forest and uses her magic to make the trees grow strong and the flowers bloom most beautifully. One year, the forest suffered a drought and all the trees and flowers were in danger of withering. The tree fairy used her magic to bring a timely rain and saved the whole forest." Ava was mesmerized, her heart full of yearning and curiosity for the forest. She was eager to see those mysterious places in person and experience the magic and beauty of the forest. As Rabbit told the stories, time passed unconsciously. The moonlight became brighter, shining on the path, as if dressing the whole world in silver. Ava and Rabbit were immersed in the world of stories, forgetting everything around them. Suddenly, Rabbit stopped telling the story, looked at the sky, and said, "Oh, it's getting late. I have to go back. Let's share more interesting stories next time." Ava said reluctantly, "Okay, Rabbit. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time and hearing more wonderful stories from you." Rabbit twitched its ears and said goodbye to Ava. "Goodbye, Ava. Remember to come to the moonlit path next time." Then it turned around and jumped into the grass, disappearing from Ava's sight. Ava stood up, looking in the direction where Rabbit had disappeared, her heart full of joy and anticipation. She knew that from today on, the moonlit path would open up wonderful journeys for her. With a vision of the future, Ava slowly walked home along the moonlit path. The moonlight shone on her, and her figure looked particularly beautiful and charming in the moonlight. After returning home, Ava lay on the bed, and the wonderful stories told by Rabbit still echoed in her mind. She closed her eyes, with a smile on her lips, and gradually fell into a sweet dream. In her dream, she seemed to have already been in that mysterious and beautiful forest. Chapter 2. The Crisis of the Mushroom Circle. Ever since her encounter with Rabbit, Ava has been eagerly coming to the moonlit path every evening, looking forward to sharing more wonderful stories with Rabbit. As the days passed, Ava learned more and more about the forest, and her heart seemed to be deeply attracted by this mysterious forest. On this day, Ava came to the moonlit path as usual. The moonlight shone on the path as it always did, but Ava felt that the atmosphere was a bit different today. She walked quickly along the path and soon saw Rabbit. Rabbit was sitting by the roadside with its ears drooping, looking very dejected. "Rabbit, what's wrong?" Ava asked with concern, her eyes full of worry. Rabbit looked up at Ava, sighed, and said, "Recently, I've noticed that the magical mushroom circle in the forest seems to have lost its former luster. I'm worried that something might be wrong." Ava remembered the story Rabbit had told her about the mushroom circle, the one that would emit a strange light on the full moon night and had magical healing powers. She knew how significant the mushroom circle was to the creatures in the forest, and she couldn't help but feel worried. "Don't worry, Rabbit. Let's go and take a look. Maybe we can find out the reason." Ava comforted, trying to cheer Rabbit up. Rabbit nodded, stood up, and led Ava towards the depths of the forest. Along the way, the trees became denser and the moonlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves, creating patches of mottled light and shadow, as if guiding their way forward. Finally, they arrived at the place where the mushroom circle was located. Ava saw that the mushroom circle, which should have been shining with a strange light, was now dull. The mushrooms, which were originally plump and full of vitality, now looked a bit shriveled, as if they had lost their life force. Ava crouched down and carefully observed the changes in the mushroom circle. She noticed that the soil around the mushroom circle was dry and clear cracks could be seen. "Rabbit, look. Is it because of the lack of water that the mushroom circle has lost its luster?" Ava pointed at the soil. Rabbit's eyes lit up. It's possible. Let's water them together. However, they were deep in the forest. Where could they find water? Ava and Rabbit looked around anxiously, searching for a water source. Just when they were starting to feel desperate, Ava suddenly heard a faint sound of flowing water. Rabbit, listen. It seems there's the sound of flowing water, Ava said excitedly. They followed the direction of the sound and found a clear stream in a nearby valley. The stream water flowed gurgling, shining with a silver light in the moonlight. Ava and Rabbit were overjoyed. They looked around for something to hold water. Finally, Rabbit found a huge leaf under a big tree. Its shape was like a natural spoon. Rabbit carefully scooped up the stream water with this leaf, and then they quickly returned to the mushroom circle with Ava. They gently poured the water onto the soil around the mushroom circle, hoping that this water could bring the mushroom circle back to life. As the stream water was poured, the soil around the mushroom circle gradually became moist. Ava and Rabbit stared nervously at the mushroom circle, expecting a miracle to happen. However, after a while, the mushroom circle still showed no change. Rabbit drooped its ears in disappointment. Could it not be because of the lack of water? Ava was also a bit frustrated, but she didn't give up. She carefully recalled the story Rabbit had told her about the mushroom circle, trying to find other clues. Suddenly, Ava remembered that Rabbit had said the light of the mushroom circle was closely related to the vitality of the forest. She looked around and noticed that although the surrounding trees were still tall, their leaves were a bit yellowish, as if they also lacked some vitality. Rabbit, I think the problem of the mushroom circle may not just be about the lack of water. The trees in the forest also seem a bit off. Maybe the vitality of the whole forest has been affected, which led to the loss of luster of the mushroom circle, Ava said. Rabbit nodded thoughtfully after hearing Ava's words. You're right, Ava. Then what should we do? After thinking for a moment, Ava said, let's go to Old Oak Grandpa. He's the guardian of the forest, has witnessed the 4-season changes and countless stories in the forest. He must know how to solve this problem. Rabbit agreed, so they walked along the forest path towards the place where Old Oak Grandpa was. The moonlight shone on them, stretching their shadows long. Along the way, Ava and Rabbit were both thinking about the possible problems the forest was facing, filled with worry. After walking for some time, they finally arrived beside Old Oak Grandpa. Old Oak Grandpa had an extremely thick trunk and lush branches and leaves, like a huge green umbrella, sheltering the creatures in the forest from wind and rain. Old Oak Grandpa, we're in trouble, Ava said anxiously. The branches and leaves of Old Oak Grandpa swayed gently, as if nodding. He said gently, don't worry, child. Take your time and tell me. Ava told Old Oak Grandpa about the loss of luster of the mushroom circle and her concerns about the vitality of the forest. After listening, Old Oak Grandpa was silent for a while. You're right, child. There have indeed been some subtle changes in the forest recently. Maybe there's an unknown force affecting the vitality of the forest, Old Oak Grandpa said slowly. Then how can we solve this problem, Old Oak Grandpa? Rabbit asked anxiously. Old Oak Grandpa pondered for a moment and then said, deep in the forest, there is a magical flower called the flower of life. This flower has a powerful life force, and it is said that its pollen can awaken the vitality of the forest. However, the journey to find the flower of life is full of dangers. Are you willing to give it a try? Ava and Rabbit looked at each other, their eyes filled with determination. They said in unison, we are willing. Old Oak Grandpa smiled with relief. He gently stroked Ava and Rabbit with his branches and leaves and said, good, children. Keep walking along this path, and you will come across a fork. The left path leads to the misty marsh, and the right path leads to the thorn valley. You should choose the right path. After passing through the thorn valley, you will see a steep mountain peak. The flower of life grows at the top of the peak. But be careful along the way. The thorn valley is full of sharp thorns, and the mountain peak is very steep. Ava and Rabbit listened carefully to Old Oak Grandpa's instructions, memorizing every detail. Thank you, Old Oak Grandpa. We will definitely find the flower of life and restore the vitality of the forest, Ava said firmly. Good, children. Good luck to you. Remember, no matter what difficulties you encounter, don't give up easily, Old Oak Grandpa encouraged. So, Ava and Rabbit said goodbye to Old Oak Grandpa and embarked on the journey to find the flower of life. The moonlight shone on the path ahead of them as if lighting their way forward. They knew that the journey ahead was full of challenges, but for the sake of saving the forest and the mushroom circle, they were willing to bravely face everything. Chapter 3. The Adventure in Thorn Valley. Ava and Rabbit said goodbye to Old Oak Grandpa and, with firm determination, set foot on the path to find the flower of life. The moonlight gently shone on them, as if cheering them on. Following the path indicated by Old Oak Grandpa, they soon arrived at the fork in the road. Ava looked at the two distinct paths in front of her. The left path led to the misty marsh, filled with strange fog, which was daunting. The right path was the Thorn Valley, overgrown with thorns, and their sharp spines glistened coldly in the moonlight. This is the way, Rabbit. Let's go. Ava took a deep breath and took the lead in stepping onto the right path leading to the Thorn Valley. Rabbit closely followed behind Ava. Its ears rotated warily, constantly paying attention to the surrounding movements. After entering the valley, they found that the thorns here were even denser than they had imagined. The thorns intertwined with each other, forming natural barriers that almost blocked their way forward. Ava carefully pushed aside the thorns. She had to be extremely careful with every step, for fear of being scratched by the sharp thorns. Her skirt had been torn in several places by the thorns, but she didn't care. The only thing in her mind was to find the flower of life and save the forest. Ava, be careful. These thorns look very sharp, Rabbit reminded Ava while trying hard to find a place to step in the thorn bushes. Suddenly, Ava accidentally got pricked by a thorn hidden in the grass, and a drop of bright red blood appeared on her finger. Ouch! Ava exclaimed softly. Rabbit rushed over immediately and asked anxiously, Ava, are you okay? Ava shook her head gently and said, I'm fine, Rabbit. Just got pricked. Let's keep going. With that, she simply bandaged her finger with a handkerchief and continued walking forward. As they went deeper into the valley, the atmosphere around them became more and more gloomy. Occasionally, the calls of night birds echoed in the valley. The sound was particularly abrupt in the silent night, making one's hair stand on end. Just then, Rabbit suddenly stopped. Its nose twitched continuously, as if it smelled something unusual. Ava, I smell a strange odor. It seems that something is approaching, Rabbit said in a low voice, a hint of tension in its eyes. Ava also tensed up. She tightened her grip on the branch in her hand and vigilantly looked around. Sure enough, after a while, a large black wild boar rushed out from the thorn bushes. Its eyes shone with a fierce light, and it let out a low growl, as if warning them not to invade its territory. Rabbit, don't be afraid. We'll slowly back away. Don't anger it, Ava said softly to Rabbit, while slowly moving backward. However, this wild boar didn't seem to be willing to let them go easily. It lowered its head and charged towards Ava and Rabbit. Seeing this, Ava quickly pulled Rabbit to the side. The wild boar rushed past them and crashed into the thorn bushes beside them. The thorns stabbed into the wild boar, and it struggled angrily, letting out even louder roars. No, we'll be attacked by it like this. We need to distract it. Ava quickly thought of a countermeasure. I'll draw it away. You take the opportunity to run, Rabbit said, then ran in the other direction, making squeaking sounds at the same time, trying to attract the wild boar's attention. The wild boar was indeed attracted by Rabbit. It turned around and charged towards Rabbit. Taking this opportunity, Ava quickly looked around for something she could use. She found a huge stone not far away, and there were some dry branches beside it. Ava had an idea. She picked up the branches, used the stone to smash the branches into sharp shapes, and made a simple weapon. Then, she carefully walked around to the back of the wild boar, waiting for the best moment. When the wild boar charged towards Rabbit again and was about to hit Rabbit, Ava seized the opportunity and threw the simple weapon in her hand towards the wild boar's leg with all her might. Ouch! The wild boar let out a painful cry. Its leg was hit and it lost its balance and fell to the ground. Rabbit took the opportunity to run back to Ava's side. "Ava, you're amazing." Ava gasped for breath and said, "We can't relax yet. We have to get out of here quickly. It might get up again." So, Ava and Rabbit continued to make their way in the thorn valley. After some effort, they finally passed through the area where the thorns were the thickest. At this time, they all had some scratches on their bodies, but their eyes were still determined. The road ahead gradually widened, and the scenery in the valley became brighter. The moonlight shone on a clear small lake, and the shimmering waves gave a sense of tranquility. However, they didn't have time to enjoy the beautiful scenery because they knew that the flower of life was still waiting for them to find. By the small lake, Ava found some strange footprints. These footprints had a peculiar shape and didn't seem to be left by ordinary animals. "Rabbit, look at these footprints. They don't seem to be left by the animals we usually see. Do you know what this is?" Ava pointed at the footprints and asked Rabbit. Rabbit observed carefully and shook its head. "I'm not sure either, Ava. But we'd better be careful." Just as they were about to continue walking, suddenly a low growl came from the woods by the lake. The sound was getting closer, as if some large creature was approaching. "Quick, let's hide." Ava pulled Rabbit and quickly hid behind a huge boulder by the lake. They stared nervously in the direction of the woods, not knowing what was about to appear. Chapter 4: The Mysterious Creature and the Light of Hope. Ava and Rabbit hid behind the huge boulder, not daring to breathe, and stared nervously in the direction of the woods. As the low growl got closer, a huge figure slowly emerged from the woods. It was a creature as large as a bear, but it had sharp claws and a tail like a wolf. Its body was covered with scales that glowed with a faint light, looking extremely strange in the moonlight. What is this thing?" Rabbit muttered in a low voice, a hint of fear in its tone. Ava tightly held Rabbit's hand, signaling it to be quiet. Her heart was pounding rapidly, but she tried to keep calm and think of a way to deal with the situation. The mysterious creature stopped by the lake. It lowered its head, as if sniffing the scent left by Ava and Rabbit on the ground. Ava's heart rose to her throat. She knew that once discovered by this creature, they would be in great danger. Just then, Ava noticed that the eyes of the mysterious creature seemed to be sensitive to light. Whenever the moonlight shone directly into its eyes, it would slightly narrow its eyes, looking a bit uncomfortable. "Rabbit, I found that it seems to be afraid of light. We can use the moonlight to distract it," Ava whispered in Rabbit's ear. Rabbit nodded slightly to show it understood. So, Ava carefully peeked out from behind the boulder, observing the movements of the mysterious creature. She saw a protruding stone by the lake. If she could run there, by using the reflection of the moonlight, she might be able to blind the mysterious creature temporarily. Taking a deep breath, Ava said to Rabbit, "When I count to 3, you run to the left to attract its attention, and I'll take the opportunity to run to that stone." Although Rabbit was a bit scared, it still nodded firmly. 1, 2, 3. Ava counted softly. Rabbit quickly darted out from behind the boulder and ran towards the left, making squeaking sounds at the same time. Hearing the sound, the mysterious creature immediately turned around and pounced in Rabbit's direction. Ava seized the opportunity and rushed towards the protruding stone like an arrow leaving the bow. When she reached the stone, she quickly picked up a reflective shard and reflected the moonlight into the mysterious creature's eyes. Roar! The mysterious creature howled in pain. It covered its eyes with its claws and spun around wildly on the spot. "Rabbit, run!" Ava shouted loudly. Hearing the shout, Rabbit immediately changed direction and ran towards Ava. Taking advantage of the mysterious creature's temporary blindness, they ran quickly along the lake, trying to get rid of this dangerous being. However, the mysterious creature recovered quickly. It roared angrily and chased after Ava and Rabbit. It was extremely fast and was about to catch up with them in no time. Just when they felt desperate, Ava suddenly noticed a cave ahead. "Rabbit, quick, into the cave!" Ava shouted. The two quickly rushed into the cave, and the mysterious creature followed. The cave was pitch black. Ava and Rabbit groped their way forward in the darkness. They could hear the sound of the mysterious creature chasing behind them, and every roar made their hearts skip a beat. Suddenly, Ava's foot kicked a hard object. She looked down and found it was a crystal emitting a faint light. Ava instinctively picked up the crystal. At that moment, the crystal emitted a strong light, illuminating the entire cave. The mysterious creature was blinded by the sudden strong light. It rampaged through the cave, roaring continuously. Ava and Rabbit took the opportunity to continue running deeper into the cave. During the run, Ava found that the light of the crystal seemed to have some restraining effect on the mysterious creature. Whenever the light of the crystal shone on the mysterious creature, its movements would become sluggish. "Rabbit, this crystal seems to be able to deal with it. Let's find a way to trap it with the light," Ava said. So, Ava and Rabbit began to use the rocks and terrain in the cave to skillfully adjust the angle of the crystal's light, trying to trap the mysterious creature in a specific area. After some effort, they finally managed to trap the mysterious creature in a corner. The mysterious creature struggled under the cover of the light but couldn't break free. Ava and Rabbit let out a sigh of relief. They looked at the trapped mysterious creature, feeling both fortunate and worried. They were fortunate to have temporarily escaped danger, but worried about what other troubles this mysterious creature might bring. "Ava, what should we do now?" Rabbit asked. After thinking for a moment, Ava said, "We can't stay here for too long. We have to continue looking for the flower of life. I hope this crystal can keep it trapped." So, Ava and Rabbit carefully bypassed the mysterious creature and continued walking deeper into the cave. The cave was filled with a mysterious atmosphere, and the walls were engraved with strange symbols and patterns. Ava and Rabbit didn't have time to study these. There was only one goal in their hearts: find the flower of life and save the forest. At the end of the cave, they found a narrow passage. At the end of the passage, a faint light flickered. "Rabbit, look, there's light. Maybe the flower of life is there," Ava said excitedly. The two quickened their pace and walked towards the end of the passage. As they got closer, the light became brighter as if calling to them. When they finally walked out of the passage, they were stunned by the sight in front of them. Chapter 5: The Miracle of the Flower of Life. Ava and Rabbit walked out of the passage, and a place like a fairyland appeared in front of them. The surroundings were enveloped in a soft glow, as if the entire space was gently covered with a thin veil. In the center, a huge flower was quietly blooming. Its petals were in a riot of colors, each one glistening with a faint light, and a strange and charming fragrance wafted from the stamen. This was the flower of life they had searched for through numerous hardships. "Wow, is this the flower of life? It's so beautiful!" Rabbit exclaimed, its eyes full of shock and surprise. Ava was also deeply attracted by the beautiful scenery in front of her and was a little distracted for a while. But she quickly came to her senses, well aware of the heavy responsibility they carried to save the forest. "Yes, Rabbit, this is the flower of life. We have to collect some pollen quickly and then go back to save the forest," Ava said as she carefully approached the flower of life. When she got close to the flower of life, a warm and powerful force rushed towards her, as if caressing her, making her feel extremely at ease. Ava stretched out her hand and gently touched the petal. The petal was soft and elastic, like a baby's skin. She gently shook the petal, and some golden pollen fell down. She quickly caught it with the small bottle she had prepared. Just as Ava was collecting the pollen, suddenly, the cave began to shake violently. The light that had originally trapped the mysterious creature started to flicker, and the mysterious creature let out an angry roar, as if struggling desperately to break free. No, the cave is going to collapse. We have to get out of here quickly, Ava shouted anxiously. She tightly held the small bottle containing the pollen and ran towards the passage with Rabbit. At this time, stones began to fall from the top of the cave, and cracks appeared on the ground. They moved forward with difficulty in the chaos, and every step was full of danger. The mysterious creature finally broke free from the restraint of the crystal light. It chased after Ava and Rabbit furiously. Its eyes glowed with fierce red light, and it continuously let out low growls, as if it wanted to devour them. Rabbit, run! It's catching up, Ava shouted as she ran and looked back. Rabbit tried its best to follow behind Ava. Suddenly, a huge stone fell from above, and it was about to hit Rabbit. Without hesitation, Ava turned around and pushed Rabbit away with all her might. She was hit on the arm by the stone, and blood instantly stained her sleeve red. Ava, you're hurt, Rabbit shouted distressfully. I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Keep running, Ava said, enduring the pain. They continued to run wildly in the cave, with the mysterious creature in hot pursuit. Just as they were about to reach the exit of the cave, a huge crack suddenly appeared in front of them, and blazing flames spurted out from the crack. What should we do, Ava? We can't get through, Rabbit said anxiously. Ava looked at the crack, and then at the approaching mysterious creature, feeling extremely anxious. Just then, the pollen of the flower of life in her hand suddenly emitted a soft light. The light fell on the crack, and the crack actually began to close slowly. Quick, now! Ava grabbed Rabbit and quickly jumped over the crack that hadn't completely closed. As soon as they passed, the mysterious creature also reached the crack. But at this time, the crack had completely closed, and the mysterious creature could only roar angrily on the other side and couldn't chase them anymore. Ava and Rabbit finally escaped from the cave. They fell to the ground exhausted and gasped for breath. Ava looked at the small bottle in her hand. The pollen inside still emitted a golden light, and she felt a sense of relief in her heart. We did it, Rabbit. We got the pollen of the flower of life, Ava said with a smile, although her face was covered with sweat and dust. Yes, Ava. Thanks to you, we were able to turn the danger into safety. Rabbit looked at Ava gratefully. After a short rest, Ava and Rabbit got up and, with the pollen of the flower of life, set foot on the way back to the forest. Along the way, the moonlight shone on them, as if cheering for their victory. After returning to the forest, Ava and Rabbit immediately found Old Oak Grandpa. When Old Oak Grandpa saw them return safely, his eyes were full of relief. Children, you've done it. I knew you could, Old Oak Grandpa said. Ava handed the small bottle containing the pollen to Old Oak Grandpa and said, Old Oak Grandpa, this is the pollen of the flower of life. How should we use it to save the forest? Old Oak Grandpa took the small bottle and said, We sprinkle the pollen in every corner of the forest, allowing its power to penetrate every inch of the land and awaken the vitality of the forest. So, led by Old Oak Grandpa, Ava, Rabbit, and the other creatures in the forest together sprinkled the pollen of the flower of life all over the forest. As the pollen was scattered, a miraculous thing happened. The originally yellowed leaves turned green again, the dried up brook flowed with clear water once more, and the mushroom circle that had lost its luster once again sparkled with a strange light. The creatures in the forest cheered. They felt the forest was returning to its former vitality and vigor. Ava looked at the rejuvenated forest, her heart filled with joy and pride. She knew this was the result of their joint efforts. From then on, Ava and Rabbit became the guardians of the forest, continuing to protect this mysterious and beautiful land and witnessing one wonderful story after another in the forest. Chapter 6: New Challenges in the Forest and the Oath of Guardianship. Nourished by the pollen of the flower of life, the forest has regained its vitality. Birds are singing merrily, butterflies are dancing among the flowers, and small animals are playing in the woods. Ava and Rabbit looked at this vibrant scene, their hearts filled with relief. However, they knew that the responsibility of guarding the forest had not ended, and there might be new challenges in the future. Sure enough, not long after the peaceful days passed, some strange phenomena occurred in the forest. The originally clear, bottom stream began to become turbid, with some black flocks floating on the water surface. Strange black spots appeared on the trunks of some trees, and the leaves gradually withered. The creatures in the forest began to feel uneasy and turned to Ava and Rabbit for help one after another. Ava, Rabbit, what should we do? There's something wrong with the forest again, a squirrel said anxiously. Ava frowned, looking at these abnormal situations, her heart full of worry. Don't worry. We will definitely find out the reason and solve the problem, she comforted. Ava and Rabbit immediately started the investigation. They followed the stream and found a pungent smell permeating the source of the stream. Near the source, they saw a huge black cave, from which black liquid was constantly gushing out and flowing into the stream, making the water turbid. This cave looks very suspicious. Let's go in and take a look, Ava said. Rabbit looked at the cave worriedly and said, Ava, it might be very dangerous inside. We need to be careful. The two walked into the cave cautiously. The cave was dark and damp, with a strange glow flickering on the walls. They slowly moved forward along the cave passage. Suddenly, a group of black bats flew over their heads, emitting shrill cries, which made one's hair stand on end. Don't be afraid, Rabbit. Let's keep going. Although Ava was also a little scared in her heart, she forced herself to stay calm. As they went deeper into the cave, they found a huge black crystal. The crystal exuded a powerful dark force, which was the cause of the forest's abnormalities. Around the crystal, there were some strange runes, seemingly maintaining the power of the crystal. This crystal must be the key to the problem, Ava said. Just then, the crystal suddenly emitted a strong black light, and a black shadow appeared in the light. The shadow gradually condensed into a human-like figure. He was wearing a black robe and a hideous mask on his face, with only a pair of red, glowing eyes exposed. You shouldn't have come here, outsiders, the black shadow said coldly. Who are you? Why are you destroying the forest? Ava asked angrily. The black shadow sneered and said, I am the Dark Messenger. This forest contains powerful natural forces. I want to claim it for myself and cover the whole world in darkness. We won't let you succeed, Rabbit said loudly. The Dark Messenger glanced at them disdainfully, waved his hands, and countless black tentacles emerged from the ground, pouncing towards Ava and Rabbit. Ava quickly drew out the dagger she carried with her and fought against the black tentacles. Rabbit cast its magic, releasing a bright light, trying to dispel the darkness. The black tentacles were very tough, and Ava's dagger could hardly harm them. Moreover, whenever Rabbit's light shone on the tentacles would quickly retract into the ground to avoid the light. This won't work. We have to find the weakness of the crystal and destroy it, Ava shouted. While dodging the attacks of the tentacles, Rabbit observed the crystal. Suddenly, he noticed that there was a rune at the bottom of the crystal that was different from the others, seemingly the core of the crystal's power. Ava, look at the rune at the bottom of the crystal. Maybe destroying it can shatter the crystal, Rabbit shouted. Ava looked in the direction Rabbit pointed and nodded. She seized the opportunity and rushed towards the crystal during the gap in the tentacles' attacks. The Dark Messenger noticed Ava's intention and increased the intensity of the tentacles' attacks. Ava advanced with difficulty among the tentacles' attacks, and several wounds were scratched on her body. Just as Ava was about to approach the crystal, a tentacle wrapped around her ankle and knocked her to the ground. Seeing this, Rabbit immediately flew over and attacked the tentacle that had wrapped around Ava with his magic. Ava took the opportunity to break free from the tentacle's restraint and continued to move towards the crystal. Finally, Ava reached the bottom of the crystal. She raised her dagger and stabbed hard at the crucial rune. After the rune was stabbed, the crystal trembled violently and the black light became unstable. Seeing this, the dark messenger let out an angry roar and attacked Ava and Rabbit frantically. Regardless of the dark messenger's attacks, Ava continued to stab at the rune with all her might. With a flash of dazzling light, the crystal was finally destroyed, and the dark messenger disappeared as the crystal shattered. The dark force in the cave dissipated instantly, and the abnormal situations in the forest gradually returned to normal. Ava and Rabbit walked out of the cave. When the creatures in the forest saw them, they surrounded them and cheered. "Ava, Rabbit, you're amazing. You saved the forest again," a little bird said. Ava and Rabbit looked at the cheering creatures, their hearts filled with pride. "We are the guardians of the forest. Protecting the forest is our responsibility," Ava said. From then on, Ava and Rabbit became more determined to protect the forest. They made an oath that no matter what difficulties the forest might encounter in the future, they would come forward to protect this land full of life and beauty, and let the forest always shine with magnificent luster. Chapter 7: The Mysterious Visitor and the Ancient Prophecy. After Ava and Rabbit saved the forest once again, the forest welcomed a relatively peaceful time. However, this peace was broken by a mysterious visitor. One early morning, sunlight filtered through the gaps in the leaves and sprinkled on the forest floor, creating patches of golden spots. Ava was walking in the forest as usual when she suddenly heard a melodious flute sound. The flute sound was clear and sweet, as if coming from another world, attracting her to involuntarily walk towards the source of the sound. Following the sound, Ava came to a quiet meadow in the forest. In the center of the meadow stood a woman in a white robe. Her long hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall, her face was as fair as moonlight, and in her hand was a flute emitting a soft glow. "Who are you? Why are you here?" Ava asked warily. The woman looked at Ava with a smile as warm as a flower blooming in spring. "My name is Elise. I come from a distant place. I've heard about your deeds of saving the forest and came here especially to visit." Ava relaxed her vigilance a little, but still remained cautious. "What do you want from us?" Elise sighed softly, and her eyes became a bit worried. "I bring an ancient prophecy about the forest. It is said that deep in this forest, there hides a power that can change the fate of the world. However, once this power is known and obtained by the dark forces, the world will be plunged into endless darkness." Ava frowned, thinking of the various crises the forest had faced before, and a sense of unease welled up in her heart. "What should we do then?" Elise looked at Ava, her eyes full of trust. "You have already shown the courage and determination to protect the forest. I believe that only you can find and safeguard this power to prevent it from falling into the hands of the dark forces." Just then, Rabbit also rushed over following the sound. "Ava, what's going on?" It was also a bit surprised to see Elise. Ava introduced Elise and the ancient prophecy she brought to Rabbit. After hearing this, Rabbit's expression became serious. "We can't let the dark forces succeed, Ava. We must find that power and protect it well," Rabbit said firmly. Elise nodded and said, "I can give you some clues. According to the record of the prophecy, this power is related to a 1,000-year-old tree in the forest. That ancient tree grows in a hidden corner of the forest, surrounded by mysterious mist. After finding the ancient tree, you need to solve the puzzles on the tree to discover the hidden power." Ava and Rabbit looked at each other, and they saw firm determination in each other's eyes. "Let's go, Rabbit," Ava said. Elise looked at them with a smile. "Good luck to you. Remember, time is pressing. The dark forces may already be on the way to find this power." Ava and Rabbit said goodbye to Elise and immediately started their journey to find the 1,000-year-old tree. They the dense forest, asking around for news about the mysterious ancient tree. However, most of the creatures in the forest had only heard of this legend, but no one really knew the specific location of the ancient tree. After several days of searching, they finally got some clues from an old owl. The old owl told them that in the easternmost part of the forest, there was a forgotten valley filled with mist that never dispersed throughout the year, and the 1,000-year-old tree might grow in the valley. Ava and Rabbit thanked the old owl and rushed towards the east of the forest without stopping. When they arrived at the valley, they found that it was indeed as the old owl had said. The mist was thick, and it was almost impossible to see the road ahead. "Rabbit, we have to be careful. There may be all kinds of dangers hidden in this mist," Ava said. Rabbit nodded. Its ears rotated warily, trying to catch the surrounding movements. They walked into the valley cautiously, being extremely careful with every step. After groping forward in the mist for a while, they suddenly heard a low growl. The sound echoed in the mist, making it impossible to judge its source. "Ava, it seems that something is approaching," Rabbit said nervously. Ava tightened her grip on the dagger in her hand and stared closely at the surroundings. Suddenly, a huge black panther sprang out from the mist. Its eyes glowed with green light, and it bared its sharp teeth, issuing a threatening roar towards Ava and Rabbit. "Don't be afraid, Rabbit. We'll face it together," Ava said, although her heart was also filled with tension. The Black Panther pounced fiercely. Ava quickly sidestepped to avoid it and stabbed the dagger towards the panther's abdomen. The Black Panther nimbly evaded Ava's attack and turned to pounce again. Rabbit took the opportunity to jump onto the panther's back and scratch the panther's neck with its small claws. The Black Panther was in pain and angrily shook its body, trying to shake Rabbit off. Ava seized the opportunity and stabbed the dagger at the panther again. This time, the dagger scratched the panther's leg, and the Black Panther let out a painful howl and retreated to the side for the time being. "Ava, we have to find a way to deal with it quickly, or we'll be in danger like this," Rabbit said. After thinking for a moment, Ava suddenly thought that the Black Panther might be sensitive to strong light. She took out a crystal shard from her pocket and refracted a strong beam of light towards the panther's eyes by using the sunlight. The Black Panther squinted its eyes due to the strong light and temporarily lost its attacking ability. Ava and Rabbit took the opportunity to run forward quickly, hoping to get rid of the panther's pursuit. They ran desperately in the mist and finally got rid of the Black Panther. After some effort, they found a huge ancient tree in the depths of the valley. The trunk of this ancient tree was extremely thick, requiring more than a dozen people to embrace it. Green vines hung all over the branches, as if telling the vicissitudes of time. "Rabbit, this should be the 1,000-year-old tree," Ava said excitedly. However, when they approached the ancient tree, they found that the trunk was engraved with strange symbols and patterns. These symbols and patterns seemed to form a series of puzzles, waiting for them to solve. Chapter 8: The Puzzles of the Ancient Tree and the Awakening of Power. Ava and Rabbit stood in front of the 1,000-year-old tree, gazing at the mysterious symbols and patterns on the trunk. These symbols were of various shapes. Some were like winding rivers, some like twinkling stars, and others like running animals. The patterns depicted some strange scenes, seemingly telling an ancient story. These symbols and patterns look so complicated. Where should we start to solve the puzzles? Rabbit scratched its head, looking a bit at a loss. Ava didn't answer immediately. Her eyes slowly moved along the trunk, trying to find some clues. Suddenly, she noticed that a group of symbols appeared several times, and their arrangement seemed to follow some kind of rule. "Rabbit, look at this group of symbols. They appear repeatedly. Maybe this is the key to solving the puzzle." Ava pointed at the group of symbols. Rabbit came closer to observe carefully. "You're right, Ava. But how do we interpret them?" Ava fell into deep thought. She remembered that Elise had mentioned that this power was closely related to the fate of the forest, and all things in the forest were tightly connected. She guessed that these symbols might be related to the natural elements in the forest. Rabbit, I think these symbols may represent the four elements of water, fire, wind, and earth. Look, this symbol like a river might represent water, and that one like a flame might represent fire. Ava said. Rabbit's eyes lit up. If so, then in what order should we arrange these elements? Ava looked at the patterns on the trunk again. One of the patterns depicted a heavy rain moistening the earth, then a fire burning on the ground, followed by a strong wind blowing the fire away, and finally the earth returning to calm. Maybe it's in the order of water, fire, wind, and earth. Let's give it a try, Ava said. So, Ava and Rabbit started looking for the symbols representing these four elements on the trunk and touched them in the order of water, fire, wind, and earth. When they touched the last symbol representing earth, the ancient tree gave a slight shudder. Immediately after, a hidden door appeared on the trunk. The hidden door slowly opened, revealing a concealed space. Inside the space, there was a crystal ball emitting a soft glow. There seemed to be a flowing energy inside the crystal ball, and the glow flickered with the flow of the energy. Is this the mysterious power? Rabbit looked at the crystal ball curiously. Ava nodded gently. It should be. We have to take it out carefully and not let it get damaged. Just as Ava reached out to take the crystal ball, suddenly, a wisp of black smoke surged out from the crystal ball. The smoke quickly condensed into a black shadow. The shape of the black shadow was somewhat similar to the dark messenger in the cave before, but it seemed more powerful. You think you can get this power easily? You're too naive, the black shadow sneered. Who are you? Why are you stopping us? Ava asked angrily. I'm a minion of the dark forces. This power belongs to us, and you have no right to interfere, the black shadow roared, waving its hands, and black flames rushed towards Ava and Rabbit. Ava quickly pulled Rabbit to dodge the attack of the flames. Rabbit, we can't let it succeed. This power must be used to protect the forest and not fall into the hands of the dark forces. Rabbit nodded firmly. I know, Ava. Let's fight together. Ava drew out her dagger and rushed towards the black shadow. The black shadow dodged Ava's attack easily with a flash of its figure and released more black flames at the same time. Ava nimbly shuttled through the flames, looking for the black shadow's weakness. Rabbit, on the side, cast magic, trying to weaken the power of the black shadow. It released a beam of golden light, and the light hit the black shadow, causing the black shadow's figure to slightly stagnate. Ava, now! Rabbit shouted. Ava seized the opportunity and stabbed the dagger towards the black shadow with all her might. The black shadow didn't expect Ava's attack to be so swift. It couldn't dodge in time and was stabbed in the shoulder by the dagger. The black shadow let out a painful howl, and the black flames weakened accordingly. However, the black shadow didn't give up. It struggled to stand up, with fierce light flickering in its eyes. You'll pay for this, the black shadow roared, and its body began to expand, releasing a more powerful dark force. Ava and Rabbit felt tremendous pressure, but they didn't flinch. Ava concentrated and observed the actions of the black shadow. She noticed that the black shadow's body would tremble slightly before releasing a powerful force each time. Rabbit, pay attention. There's a sign before the black shadow exerts force. When it tries to do it again, we'll attack its weakness together. Ava shouted to Rabbit. After a while, the black shadow prepared to launch an attack again, and its body began to tremble slightly. Ava and Rabbit took action simultaneously. Ava stabbed the dagger towards the black shadow's chest with all her strength, and Rabbit released the most powerful magic light, hitting the black shadow's head. The black shadow was hit by a double attack and let out a shrill scream. Its body began to dissipate and finally turned into a wisp of black smoke and disappeared. Ava and Rabbit let out a sigh of relief. They looked at the crystal ball. At this time, the crystal ball's light became even brighter, as if cheering for their victory. Ava carefully picked up the crystal ball, and a warm and powerful force poured into her body. She could feel that this force was full of vitality and was closely connected to every corner of the forest. We did it, Rabbit. We successfully protected this power, Ava said to Rabbit with a smile. Yes, Ava. We defeated the dark forces again, Rabbit said excitedly. Ava held the crystal ball tightly, filled with a sense of responsibility. She knew that this power would be an important weapon to protect the forest. She and Rabbit must guard it more carefully and not give the dark forces any chance. Carrying the crystal ball, Ava and Rabbit left the valley. The sunlight shone on them as if cheering for their victory. They returned to the forest and told the good news to the creatures in the forest. The creatures cheered with joy and were full of gratitude and admiration for Ava and Rabbit. From then on, Ava and Rabbit continued to shoulder the mission of protecting the forest. They used this mysterious power to resolve the crises in the forest time and time again, keeping the forest full of vitality and becoming the eternal guardians of the forest. Chapter 9. The Undercurrent in Peace. After Ava and Rabbit successfully safeguarded the mysterious power, the forest welcomed a long, lasting period of peace and prosperity. The trees in the forest grew more lush, the flowers bloomed more splendidly, and the animals lived and worked in peace and contentment in this paradise. Ava and Rabbit became the heroes of the forest, highly respected and loved by all the creatures. Every day, Ava would take the crystal ball and stroll through the forest, feeling the harmonious resonance between this power and the forest. The light of the crystal ball seemed to nourish everything around it, making the trees grow more robust and the flowers exude a more intense fragrance. Rabbit, on the other hand, shuttled through every corner of the forest, sharing joy with the small animals while constantly keeping an eye on any signs of trouble in the forest. However, beneath this peaceful appearance, an undercurrent was quietly surging. At the edge of the forest, some dark auras began to spread. The originally green grassland gradually turned yellow and withered, and the flowers lost their former colors and withered away. Some small animals began to disappear inexplicably, and an atmosphere of unease filled the forest. Ava noticed the strangeness of the forest. She took Rabbit and carefully inspected along the forest edge. When they came to a meadow that was once full of vitality, the scene in front of them shocked them greatly. The originally soft green grass had become like dry hay, completely lifeless, and there were still some strange black marks on the ground. Rabbit, look at these marks. This is definitely not a natural phenomenon. The dark forces must be up to something again, Ava said with a frown, looking worried. Rabbit leaned closer to observe carefully. Its nose twitched slightly, trying to sniff out some clues. I smell a familiar dark aura, Ava. It's very similar to the smell on the dark messenger we encountered before. Ava tightened her grip on the crystal ball and said with a firm look in her eyes, we can't stand by and do nothing. Since the dark forces have reappeared, we must repel them completely and protect the forest. They continued to search in the direction where the dark aura spread and found that the source of the darkness seemed to come from an abandoned castle outside the forest. This castle was gloomy and terrifying, with its walls covered in moss and cracks, and surrounded by strange fog. That castle looks very suspicious, Rabbit. The dark forces may be hiding inside. Ava pointed at the castle. We have to be careful, Ava. It must be full of dangers inside, Rabbit reminded. The two approached the castle cautiously. When they reached the castle gate, the thick gate slowly opened, emitting a harsh creaking sound. A putrid smell filled the inside of the castle, making people feel nauseous. They entered the castle. The dim corridor was filled with thick fog, and it was almost impossible to see the road ahead. Suddenly, a group of black ghosts floated out from the fog. They let out shrill screams and pounced towards Ava and Rabbit. Rabbit, be careful, Ava shouted and quickly raised the crystal ball. The crystal ball emitted a bright light that illuminated the entire corridor. Under the illumination of the light, the ghosts twisted in pain and retreated one after another. These ghosts are afraid of light. We'll use the light of the crystal ball to deal with them, Ava said. Rabbit nodded in agreement, and stood beside Ava, ready to deal with new dangers at any time. They continued to penetrate deeper into the castle, being vigilant with every step. In the hall of the castle, they discovered a huge magic array. The magic array emitted a black light, and some strange sacrifices were placed around it. Ava approached the magic array, trying to figure out its purpose. Just then, a voice echoed in the hall. "You shouldn't have come here, guardians. This castle will be your grave." Ava looked up and saw a wizard in a black robe appear in front of them. His face was engraved with evil runes, and his eyes shone with a cold light. "Who are you? Why are you destroying the forest?" Ava asked angrily. The wizard sneered, "I am the Dark Wizard. I will use this magic array to suck the vitality out of the forest and cover the whole world in darkness. And you will be the first victims." After saying that, the wizard waved the wand in his hand. The light of the magic array became even stronger, and black energy surged towards Ava and Rabbit. Chapter 10. The Final Battle Against the Dark Wizard. Facing the surging black energy, Ava quickly raised the crystal ball above her head and fully activated the power of the crystal ball. A dazzling white light burst out from the crystal ball, colliding head-on with the black energy. The light and the energy intertwined, erupting with a strong shock in the hall. The air current raged everywhere, making Ava and Rabbit's clothes flutter violently. "Ava, I'm coming to help you," Rabbit shouted loudly. It concentrated and cast all its magic. A golden light emanated from its body and merged into the white light of the crystal ball. The two kinds of light converged, increasing in power and gradually suppressing the black energy. Seeing this, the Dark Wizard showed a hint of surprise on his face, but it was soon replaced by anger. "You insects, how dare you resist me?" he roared, clenching the wand in his hands and muttering incantations. As he chanted, the black light on the magic array became even stronger, and more black energy surged out like a tide, trying to break through the barrier of light. Ava gritted her teeth, her forehead covered with sweat, but her eyes remained firm. "Rabbit, we can't give up. We must stop him," she shouted, simultaneously increasing the output of the crystal ball's power. Rabbit also tried its best, and the golden light became even more dazzling. With their joint efforts, the light gained the upper hand again, pushing the black energy back little by little. Seeing that his attack was resisted, the Dark Wizard became even more annoyed. He decided to use his trump card. The Dark Wizard inserted the wand into the magic array, and the entire castle began to shake violently. More complex runes emerged on the magic array, and a powerful and evil force was released from it. The Dark Wizard, relying on this force, instantly grew huge. His eyes shone with a blood-red light, and a terrifying aura emanated from his body. "Now you will feel the real power of darkness." The Dark Wizard laughed maniacally and pounced towards Ava and Rabbit. His hands turned into black claws and grabbed towards Ava. Ava quickly dodged to the side, but still, her arm was scratched by the Dark Wizard's claws, and blood stained her sleeve. "Ava!" Rabbit shouted anxiously. It rushed towards the Dark Wizard without hesitation, trying to attract his attention. The Dark Wizard glanced at Rabbit contemptuously and waved his hand casually. A wave of dark energy sent Rabbit flying. Rabbit fell heavily to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. "Rabbit!" Ava shouted with distress. Looking at the injured Rabbit, anger welled up in her heart. "You demon, I won't let you go!" Ava roared, and the light of the crystal ball in her hand became extremely bright. At this moment, Ava felt the close connection between the power contained in the crystal ball and the forest. She closed her eyes, concentrated all her spirit, and tried to borrow the power of the forest to fight against the Dark Wizard. Ava seemed to be able to hear the whispers of the trees and the calls of the flowers and plants in the forest. They were all transmitting power to her. When Ava opened her eyes again, there was a determined light in her eyes. She raised the crystal ball and shouted, "The power of the forest is with me." Instantly, the crystal ball released an extremely powerful light. This light not only contained the power of the crystal ball itself, but also integrated the vitality and energy of the entire forest. The light was like a sharp sword, rushing straight towards the Dark Wizard. The Dark Wizard felt the threat of this powerful force. He tried to resist, but the power of the light was too strong. It directly penetrated his dark shield and hit his body. No! The Dark Wizard let out a desperate scream. His body began to dissipate under the illumination of the light, and the powerful dark force also disintegrated. With the disappearance of the Dark Wizard, the dark aura in the castle gradually dissipated, the magic array stopped operating, and the light gradually faded away. Ava quickly ran to Rabbit's side and helped it up. "Rabbit, how are you?" she asked anxiously. Rabbit smiled weakly. "I'm okay, Ava. We did it." The Dark Wizard was defeated. Ava looked at Rabbit, with tears glistening in her eyes. "Yes, we did it, but it's also thanks to your bravery." After resting for a while, the two left the abandoned castle. When they walked out of the castle, the sunlight shone on them, as if cheering for their victory. The grassland at the edge of the forest, which was originally withered and yellow, began to come back to life. The flowers bloomed again, and the missing small animals gradually returned to the forest. Ava and Rabbit knew that as long as they adhered to the belief of protecting the forest, the dark forces would never succeed. From then on, they guarded the forest more vigilantly, becoming the eternal guardians of the forest and continuing to write their legendary stories with the forest. The final chapter, Eternal Guardianship. After defeating the Dark Wizard, the forest welcomed an unprecedented peace and prosperity. The sun shone unreservedly on every inch of the land. The trees in the forest seemed to be infused with new vitality, their branches and leaves becoming more lush and green. Colorful flowers vied with each other in full bloom, exuding a rich fragrance, attracting countless butterflies and bees to dance among the flowers. The brook flowed merrily, its water so clear that one could see the fish swimming freely in it. The animals in the forest also lived a carefree life. They played and chased each other among the trees, presenting a vibrant scene. Ava and Rabbit became the legendary guardians of the forest, and their stories were passed down from mouth to mouth in the forest, inspiring generations of creatures. Ava still carried the crystal ball and shuttled through every corner of the forest every day. She established deep emotional connections with every kind of creature in the forest. She would sing with the birds, listening to them tell interesting stories in the sky, collect nuts with the squirrels, sharing the joy of harvest, and run on the grass with the fawns, experiencing the beauty of nature. Rabbit, with its cleverness and bravery, made many friends in the forest. It often organized the small animals in the forest to play together and taught them some self-protection skills. However, Ava and Rabbit did not relax their vigilance because of the peace in the forest. They knew very well that although the dark forces had been temporarily repelled, they might come back at any time. Therefore, they decided to strengthen the protection of the forest and teach the creatures in the forest how to deal with potential crises. Ava and Rabbit summoned all the creatures in the forest and held a grand gathering in the central square of the forest. Standing on a huge stone in the center of the square, Ava told everyone the importance of protecting the forest. "Dear friends, our forest has gone through countless hardships, but every time we have managed to turn danger into safety with our joint efforts. The dark forces will not give up easily. We must always stay vigilant and jointly protect our beautiful home." Ava's voice was firm and powerful, echoing in the forest. Rabbit also jumped onto the stone and continued, "That's right. Everyone should unite. We can learn some basic defense skills to protect ourselves and our home when danger comes." From then on, Ava and Rabbit began to train the forest creatures. They taught the birds how to scout in the air and detect potential dangers in a timely manner, taught the rabbits and squirrels how to dig tunnels so as to avoid enemies in case of emergency, and guided the fawns and wild boars how to use their own strength for effective defense. The creatures in the forest actively participated with high enthusiasm, knowing that protecting the forest was to protect their own home. As time passed, the creatures in the forest gradually mastered various defense skills, and the entire forest formed a tight defense system. Ava and Rabbit also set up an early warning mechanism. Once any abnormal situation was detected, the birds would immediately issue an alarm, and the creatures in the forest would quickly respond. On a quiet night, a trace of dark aura suddenly appeared at the edge of the forest. A patrolling bird keenly detected the abnormality and immediately let out a sharp alarm. Instantly, the whole forest came into action. Ava and Rabbit quickly rushed to the scene and saw that the dark aura was trying to penetrate the forest. It seems that the dark forces are trying to sneak attack at night again. Everyone, don't panic. Follow what we've trained for, Ava said calmly. Rabbit nodded and then shouted to the small animals around, "Everyone take your positions and get ready to fight." The birds circled in the air, disturbing the actions of the dark force with their sharp cries. The rabbits and squirrels quickly got into the tunnels, harassing the dark aura from underground. The fawns and wild boars stood on the edge of the forest, forming a defense line with their strong bodies. Ava raised the crystal ball and released a powerful light, trying to dispel the dark aura. Rabbit, on the side, cast magic to enhance the power of the light. With the joint efforts of everyone, the dark aura was gradually repelled. Seeing such a tight defense in the forest, the dark forces had to retreat in defeat. After this incident, the creatures in the forest understood even more the importance of unity and guardianship. Ava and Rabbit also became more determined to protect the forest. As the years went by, Ava and Rabbit gradually grew old, but their spirit of guarding the forest remained in the hearts of every forest creature forever. Their descendants inherited their mission and continued to protect this vibrant and beautiful forest. Under the care of the guardians, the forest always maintained its beauty and mystery, becoming the eternal home of all creatures. And the stories of Ava and Rabbit also became an eternal legend in the forest, inspiring generations of lives, making them understand the meaning of courage, unity, and guardianship.